right, good afternoon, East Hampton ARB. We're live, we're streaming, and we're live on 22. You may begin.
Thank you very much, LTV, and good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to our May 9th meeting of the Architecture Review Board of the Town of East Hampton. We have 10 applications on the agenda for this afternoon. Two of our board members, Kathy Cunningham and Frank Guittard, are both under the weather and will be participating by Zoom call on the screens. Our attorney, Charlie Collins, is on vacation this week, and Nick Cortesitis from the town attorney's office is stepping in for him, and Nick is right under the screen. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of our April 25th meeting? So moved. Second?
Seconded.
Meeting minutes have been approved. First agenda item tonight is comments to planning, where we actually just make some suggestions to a planning review that's already been in process. It's Springs General Store, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-80-2-1, 29 Old Stone Highway in East Hampton. Chris, this is yours.
Okay, I'll make some comments and then I'll invite the applicant up to follow up with their own comments. Then we can open it up to general discussion. The Springs General Store, obviously, it's part of the core of the Springs Historic District, one of the historic buildings in the district. It was built back in 1844 to 1847. It's seen a lot of owners and a lot of action as general store and one-time post office. As I understand it, it had a facade easement purchased in 2015, which created certain limitations on the treatment of and renovation of the building. Something I'm sure the owners going through right now, dealing with this. What we're seeing is, as presented, it's a serious cleanup of the property. The generator, which is quite elevated, is being removed. The dumpster, which is in a visible location and fenced in, is being put in a more discreet location behind the building and fenced. There are a lot of small sheds and additions and accretions to the historic core of the building that are being cleaned up and removed. They're renovating the existing sheds in the rear, renovating the historic front shed that's right behind the pumps, updating driveways and parking, surfacing and layouts, removing the kayak rental, which is all the way in the back there. That rack and the play structure there, renovating these buildings. Let's see, what else do we have in those photos? That's the current dumpster enclosure and the play structure that's there on the left. There's these small coolers and sheds on the side. This is the location, if you stay on that photo again for a second, that's the location where they're proposing to put a new wheelchair accessible ramp up to the porch, allowing entry for people in wheelchairs to the building, which is an ADA requirement for updating the building. The porch floor is being, that's also an ADA requirement. You really have to be level for wheelchairs and provide a floor surface that's at the same level as the interior floor of the building for a smooth transition in a wheelchair. So that concrete, non-historic porch floor is proposed as being replaced, as well as there you see the shed behind the gas stations, which they're proposing to renovate into sounds like a great wine retail shop. The pumps would remain as part of that true historic character of the site. The porch itself is shown, not only the floor, but also the columns and the ceiling structure as being restored, and that's something I'd like to hear more about. The side of the building, there's questions about this. This is probably, I'm just assuming it serves the apartment upstairs, that heat pump there. It's not really clear what what's happening with the HVAC layout for outdoor units on the application or on the drawings as presented, but there's fencing that's in disrepair. There's HVAC accretions to the building there that's shown as a planted area on the side of the building there, and there you see the dumpster in the background right at the end of the driveway in plain sight. So that would be tucked away behind the building in the drawings that they're proposing. The back of the building there, you see the elevated generator behind the fence, and it looks like a walk-in cooler. It's all being cleaned up, and the lean-to shed would stay on the back of the building, but that concrete deck there would be replaced with a wood deck. This would be what you're seeing. The foreground would be part of the expanded parking area and circulation area to get back to the dumpster, to get back to additional parking and access to the storage sheds in the back. I think that pretty well covered what we saw. There's also a whole landscape component of this, which is removal of invasive species, re-veg with native species, mowed paths that lead down to the water, a few picnic tables, and as I mentioned, the gravel parking in the area, resurfacing and slight reconfiguration of that parking area, making it a one-way in, one-way out for cars. So that's what we're seeing. Is that the applicant here?
Sure. Please come on up to the podium.
And identify yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Daniel Bennett. I'm the owner of the Springs General Store. Nice to meet you. This is Mike Shiano from InterScience. John Bennett. Sorry, well, I'm tall here. Sorry, Mike Shiano from InterScience. John Bennett, my father, and Isaac Brest, who's the designer. I'll just speak a little bit about the thesis. You did touch on pretty much everything that we are trying to do. The thesis, as I told the planning board a year and a half ago, was basically when I got in there, all the bones of the building are still there intact, the fireplace, all the beams that are hand-hewn, everything like that. So the idea is to show that and bring it back in time while also making it ADA compliant, which we're required to do. Everything that you touched on, I'll speak about the columns a little bit. Do you have that picture, Mike, from the proposed?
I think we have the historic photo of the
historic photo. Yeah, the only reason we were changing the columns is part of that thesis was to try to bring it back to the original columns.
Yeah.
If you go over to the library in Springs upstairs, there's that little historical society. Mm-hmm. So we did some research in there, found a bunch of old photos of the store, and tried to pick apart pieces that we could include to kind of bring it back to what it used to be, the columns being one of them. We preferred them aesthetically and thought that they fit more with the historic character. We're obviously open to whatever you like, but we thought that might be nice. We think that because of the fact that we're required to raise the porch anyway, bringing it to a mahogany porch, even though structure or, from over time that might be difficult for us as a cost, it would look a lot better than the cement slab, and we're required to do it anyway, so we thought that would be nice. We're reducing the deck in the back a pretty good amount. That's also in the wetlands jurisdiction, so taking that away. Taking that walk-in cooler out also, so that's also on the wetlands. Pretty much exactly what you said, just trying to clean up the property a little bit and those auxiliary buildings, also trying to redo them in cedar shingles, redo the building in cedar, redo the roof in cedar so it's not asphalt, except for the auxiliary structures. We tried to mirror the roofs of those off of the blacksmith shop. So basically, I grew up in Springs, and walking around all those different buildings, Ashwag Hall, blacksmith shop, church, and library, Springs General Store kind of sits off to the side, but I always thought it was kind of the cornerstone that would tie everything together. So we really want to try to match those aesthetically and historic character as much as we can. So we look to those buildings for ideas, and one of those being the tin roofs on I guess they're zinc roofs on the structures in the back. And Yeah, I wrote down everything you said, but I'm pretty sure that's the landscape revegetation, yep, walk-in being removed. Oh, the HVAC stuff we were planning, we haven't shown it yet because the contractor, we need the building permit first, and he'll sign the contract, and then we're gonna design where they go. But we were thinking of putting them in the back where the old walk-in was, but obviously a much more reduced space. Trying to get as much stuff off the wetlands as possible, and obviously trying to bring everything closer to the building that was kind of displayed outwards. Play structure, removing kayaks, yep. Dumpster replaced, bringing that closer to the structure, generator to be taken away. The only thing that we ran into with the planning board also, I'm not sure if the town ever did purchase the facade easement. I think that they had said that they thought that they did, but then when we researched it more, that found out that they never had. Yeah, please, go ahead. Yeah, go.
There is no facade easement. It was never put in.
John, speaking to the microphone.
I'm so sorry. There is no facade easement. It was never put into place. But in a way, I don't think it matters because everything that we're doing, we're really trying to stay true to the fenestration. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about the trim color. I think the applicant's sort of agnostic on it. There's a reason why you see that color, and we'll explain it to you. But the only thing that's happening, if you look at the historic photograph, the porch overhang is obviously across the whole face of the building now, but that's the way it is now. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And then for ADA and ADA purposes only, we're widening those doors for wheelchair access. At first, we thought come in the side door, but the ADA folks were very, very, very clear about this. They don't want, and it makes sense because the ADA is not only a physical thing, but a psychological thing. They don't want people seen as second-class citizens happening to come in a side door. So that's what that's. And we're leveling.
I don't believe that door, the front door, was historic anyway at this point.
It doesn't appear so, but I think it's where we have to go now anyway to get that access. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Yeah, I had a couple questions about the construction of the overhang and maybe the lighting underneath. We tried to make sure that the lighting did not come below so that we were in compliant with that. And Isaac, I think we opened up the structure to be more the way it originally was. We're open to any comments, or if you like that idea or don't like that idea. I don't want to say we really wanted to try to fit within what I think you're tasked with, which is bringing stuff back. So we're trying to do that. The color is probably the sticking point. Again, we are totally open. At first, we wanted to match the blacksmith shop. We looked all over for that red. I went to the town of East Hampton and got the actual red. And then we were like, well, maybe that's going to be too much red in all these different buildings and it might look awkward. And then we were thinking about the green on Ashwag Hall because we like that green too. This is a color that when we came up with it originally, we thought was pretty original and cool. But since then, there's been about 7 or 8 houses, you've probably noticed them, one of them against it, 2 in East Hampton town, that have gone up with this exact color trim. It's popular in Nantucket and it's popular in the south of France specifically. It is in the historic color lexicon. When I called the ARB, I said, is there any restrictions with colors? They said, as long as you go and you find historic color section, you can use any of those. Obviously, I know it's up to you guys. But we tried to pick something that was going to fit within the character, but separate itself from the other buildings around there. And the pumps also, that was a big part of the impetus for the idea, was the pumps we have to leave. And we can't mess with them or touch them. So we were thinking, why don't we match the building with the pumps, essentially?
Which is the existing color of the pumps.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't really know specifically if we're allowed to change the color of the pumps. If we're allowed to repaint them. I just assumed that those were not to be touched, and so as a way of trying to match it aesthetically, we were going to try to match the color there.
You certainly have a patina on them.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that
I can be polite about that. Some
basic, just clean up of them. There's a plant growing out of the one on the far left, for example. I'd like to take that out of there.
Is that a historic plant?
Yeah, and you can see well, yeah, well, I won't speak on that. Yeah, there's a lot of, you can see that they kind of tried to do that with the shed itself already. They tried to put that blue, and on the underside of the porch that's overhanging there, that's also that same color blue. I don't want to say too much bad about the white in case that's what we go with, but we want to stay away from what we call the Home Depot white. We don't love how it just seems very sterile, and we feel like we could do something better, whatever it is, maybe work with you guys to figure something out, but we just feel like there might be a better route than that, but maybe not.
So maybe we'll let each board member, starting with Chris, just give a few comments, unless you guys have something else you want to say?
Unless you have other questions, I think you covered pretty much everything, unless, Mike, you want to.
Yeah, just real quick, Mike Shanoff from InterScience. On the sheet that I just handed out, there is one of the potential alternatives that we were thinking about in terms of the trim colors, which is this kind of off-white, Monterey white, just something that we've been thinking about. And I thought I would, since we were already putting this comparison together of the historic existing and what we were thinking about, thought we would just throw it on there. So,
okay, perfect.
Great.
Chris, your thoughts?
Paint colors are a sticky subject with various historic boards and things. The building zoning code of East Hampton and the Springs historic guidelines is not prescriptive. They definitely state in the wording a preference for white in this setting because of the cohesiveness of the whole area. Having said that, of course, there's the red blacksmith shop, but the cedar shingle and white palette seems to be something that the code leans toward. My feeling is the structures are there forever, hopefully, and paint colors do come and go a little bit more than the actual structure and the shapes and forms. So I'm not personally a stickler on colors as much as some other people might be. It would be interesting to do some scrapings maybe you already have, to see if there's any history of paint layers underneath that on the trim. On the windows, I really commend you for keeping the same pattern, the same form. I don't know, are those windows original sashes, or are they or have they been sash replaced in the 50s or something?
Apologies. Yeah, Isaac Brest, the designer. Thank you. Some of the windows seem like they could be original, though a lot of them have been replaced, most certainly. I kind of doubt that any of them are original from the 1840s, but some are certainly old, certainly wood. There's a mixture of wood and fiberglass. Maybe some windows that got bought in a pinch after something got broken.
Right.
But our goal is to replace them all. Unless the board mandates replacing with wood windows, we would like to go with aluminum clad for durability's sake. But that's something that I could see you guys bringing up and possibly having an issue with. However, the color would remain regardless.
So I see in these photos you gave us from 1910, it looks like they're mostly 6/6 paints. And then in 2023, it looks like there's some 6/6 and some 6/1. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, most of what we have here is 6/1. However, we're generally replacing what is currently and then there's a couple that are just dual pane, just top and the bottom, and those obviously were replaced without much.
I've done an awful lot of historic work, and windows are kind of the soul of the building. I can let a lot of things go with paint, but I'm a lot more careful about windows. Go ahead.
Just, I guess the benefit of being a Bonnaker, and I say that my great-grandfather grew up on Abraham's Path, so this area is in my blood. And the reason I say that is because 6/1, it was quite common going very far back. It was an economic thing.
Yep.
The big panes of glass. Okay, now we've got a little bit more money. We can put one big pane of glass on the bottom, but we have to have some division on the top. So I think that's what we're showing, and I think it's certainly not without historic antecedent going fairly far back. I couldn't not say that, I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like a couple on the first floors.
In terms of the importance of fenestration, absolutely, because it really does make a difference.
I mean,
I agree with you more.
I don't want to be prescriptive, and I don't think anybody here intends to be about that level of things, but it's the kind of thing that I would want to see in a final application, details, materials, the Muntin bars, that level of detail, because I think it's critical to
Be simulated true divided light.
Sure, of course.
But you're saying you'd prefer 6/6?
My personal preference is to go back to as early as we have documented.
Okay.
And
We don't have any issue.
on the other hand, there are building code issues, and on these windows, I'm almost positive don't meet current egress codes for your apartment upstairs.
Okay.
So on the back side, if the two bedrooms have back windows, a simulated double hung, it's a casement that allows for, it looks pretty much exactly the same, but that's the kind of thing, there's always a balance in this historic work.
Gotcha.
And the front and sides are much more critical than the rear in general in historic work. So, but that's the kind of balancing. I think I think there was an article where you were interviewed where you were really talking about the balancing act, that you're the tightrope that you're walking between current codes and zoning and us.
Yay.
and trying to do the right thing by the building, and also by bringing this building up to code and keeping it going and keeping its stories going for a long time.
Yeah, I appreciate you recognizing that's what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Diane, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing is
We get a substantive, I may, do you have a preference in terms of the fenestration? In terms of, the 6/1?
Just so we-
We're gonna write a letter to.
Yeah, let's hear what everyone says, and then we'll summarize it. Let's see.
Oh, so sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're all happy with the care you're taking. And I personally love the blue, and I think the fact that it matches those pumps gives it a reason to be. And also, I think, the iconoclastic neighborhood, Ashwag Hall with its green and the red, and I mean, it gives a kind of character to this place that I like it very much.
Frank, are you with us?
Yeah, I have some thoughts.
Here.
I'll do my best. Can you all hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the owner and the team for putting together what I think is a definite improvement of the site, the septic. I think this is a very positive thing for the harbor and the site overall. Some general thoughts about this. First of all, I think this is a great improvement of the property, particularly the porch steps, and I'll talk about the color in a minute. And I also think we haven't really talked about the ADA ramp, but I'm not saying that I'm willing to approve this right now, state that, but I think we're in the right direction. I'm not seeing anything that I would have any issues with. Overall, I just want to state in this discussion about the building's history, the historic Springs district, which is obviously in the code as being historic. My position on this is the building's significance and importance is first its function in the community. And I just want to acknowledge that. This is not the Blacksmith Museum across the street. This is not a museum piece. And I'm not saying that I don't like in any way what's being proposed here, but my position on this is I don't think we need to be overly precious with this and to treat it as some sort of precious museum piece. it seems to me historically it's always functioned as sort of like a store, and like there's been a function to it, to the community. And of course, our role is to help preserve the architecture and to improve it as we can. But so what I'm saying is we need to be reverent to the past, but I don't think we need to be necessarily bound to it. So, I'm receptive to the columns, and but I don't think that it, I don't think it has to be that. I do think, in terms also, history is complex and it evolves. One thing that I actually think is the most unique thing about this property historically are the gas pumps. I do think hopefully they will be restored and touched. They need to be so. What's not in the renderings, which I hope will be preserved, are these the two street lamps. I think they're really great, and the light they cast, particularly like on a cold winter night, are fabulous. It's like the best thing in downtown Springs at night. So I hope that you plan on restoring those. In terms of the color scheme, I'm glad we're talking about it. Obviously, renderings are tricky, and it seems to me the blue that's in the rendering here isn't quite matching what I'm seeing in the photograph of the pumps. I actually kind of prefer the color of the pumps. Now, whether I think this will we'll see where this goes. If the color has to stay that, I do think it to be kind of cool if you want to propose some sort of a shade of blue that was actually match those pumps.
They think it did trying to move the color.
I think that's it for now. Once we get to the color, I would suggest, because I think the color is going to be pretty important here, if we can at some point get a large swatch that we could actually see this on site, maybe take a piece of plywood and put it in front of the column that's there, so we can get an idea of what that will actually be. But those are my thoughts for now.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Kathy, your comments?
Right, thank you. I agree with, excuse me, most of what all my colleagues have already said about this. Although I think I'm not, the blue is fine with me. I'm not sure if it really fits the criteria, though. I like the way the blue looks, but I feel as though the guidelines are suggesting otherwise, and I wouldn't mind taking a look, which I don't have advantage of here because I'm home. Excuse me. I'd like to see what that Monterey white is. But I take the points. I'm not, I'm not profoundly opposed to it. I could be easily convinced. I had more comments about the the fencing and so forth, but I wanted to just say that I think the ADA access ramp is good. I think you did a great job positioning that, and as long as that fits the criteria, I'm glad that you conferred with the ADA committee, the advisory committee. It seems like a kind of a long, the switchback nature of it seems a little, I don't know, vigorous for someone to have to do, but if they have signed off on that, that works for me. The whole thing looks much better. You're tidying it up. I agree with Frank about the street lamps. I agree with Chris about the windows. I think the 6/6 is really important, even though John Bennett, hi John, makes a good point about the 6/1 from the old days, but I think it's different now. I guess my main question really has to do, I'm sorry to see the little playhouse go, because my kids and grandkids all played in that little playhouse, so I'm sorry to see that go. And I'm wondering about the fencing. It's a great choice, the split rail. I think the ingress and egress choices you guys have made have been good ones because it's locals know how to get in and out of there, but non-locals don't, so it's not a bad thing. But there's fencing that's proposed on the along the parking area. It's just that split rail, I think, right? That I feel kind of, I don't know if it's not objectionable, but I don't think it's the open meadow, open vistas concept of the Springs district in general. I wonder if it fits that criteria. I think you'd be able to see it better on the the fencing that's on, as you see along the perimeter there. I don't even know what the dimensions of that is. I'm not sure, but I know it just looks a little not open, which seems to be, I think that's more and even in the back there, I get it, it's tidy, but I think I don't know if it fits the criteria for the Springs Historic District, which is to maintain those open, even though there's a lot of trees here. So anyway, those are my comments, and I'll look forward to seeing the next submission. And thank you. I think it's a great, I think it's going to look really nice once you're done.
Thank you.
For me.
Thank you, Kathy.
Can I
Sure.
speak to?
Sure.
So I know we don't have a picture of it here, but the town took over Pussy's Pond across the street, and on the property where the blacksmith shop is, there's new fencing there. I just matched that fencing.
Yeah.
That's why.
I believe it is in the Springs Historic Guidelines that they actually recommend split rail.
We'll do whatever fencing you guys want, but the only reason I picked that was because I was like, oh, I can tie it into what the town liked.
And
they're
that
50
makes
feet
perfect
away.
sense for cohesiveness of that district.
As far as the fencing along the side there, it's because of the fact that people have always walked right through, and we're working with Cornell Cooperative to allow them to do all these wells right along there for the filtration testing. And that's where all the wells are, and it's going to be revegetated. So I just figured if there was not any opposition, that it might kind of deter people from walking through the vegetation and over the wells, but.
That and the ticks.
Okay.
Finally, if I may, the split rail on the front where you come in, now it's just one big curb cut. So the idea was, how do we get some in and out traffic control, but no one wants to put modern curbing there or anything like that. So the thought with the planning board, and I think it makes sense, was just the split rail so that you don't have this big massive curb cut and try to direct in and out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That wasn't the fencing. I have no problem with the style of the fence, and I think your traffic direction is smart. I'm pretty sure I said that. It was just, and I understand now why you have the fencing along the perimeter of the lot. If it's to keep people from walking there, then that's a reason to have it.
So that was exactly why. It was just for, but it's again, we're not attached to that fence if you guys don't want it there. The Playhouse, I love the Playhouse too. The Playhouse has seen better days. Let's just say that.
It's true.
It's true. A little. I went to the Hampton Day School when I was a kid, and they used to have these boats and stuff around there. And I remember thinking, "Wow, I don't know how they got away with that with insurance."
Farmers Market in Amagansett.
Like nails and rusty things and ever. Yeah. And that Playhouse it's a little dangerous. And it's, I mean, we were going to give it to a local who said they really loved it and they wanted it. We were thinking about taking it apart and making some sort of memorial to it. If you really want the Playhouse to be there, we could leave it there. It was going to be in the revegetated area. I don't think that's in our jurisdiction, frankly. I'm just mentioning it. I don't have any jurisdiction for that. I may be wrong, but I don't think we do. I got you. I understand.
Okay. So I just want to summarize my thoughts. I applaud you for taking a very messy situation and very thoughtfully in a very long process cleaning it up. I'm a window guy too, and I've seen what's happened to our 6/6 windows in town. They slowly disappear. I think Moby's on 27 has lost most of its 6/6. So I would make a bigger issue about the windows than probably anything else. The posts are terrific if they're historically based. I'm fine with the ADA ramp. I think the blue is an interesting situation. It's whimsical. It matches the pumps. It's probably a more sophisticated look than the white woodwork, and certainly dark mullion windows are certainly in vogue at the moment. Though we looked at the code earlier, and it's not adamant about it, but it pushes the idea of white woodwork. So that's something I think we can talk about as we go forward. But I think overall you've done a terrific job. And what we do after this is we'll summarize our thoughts in a letter to you, probably like 6 or 7 bullet points. And we're just recommending the things to the planning board. And then at the end of this process, you'll come back to us and we'll be a little bit more specific about all of this. But just trying to give you some feedback now. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. It's really nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the title Historic District. This is the Kelly Residence, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-2-23, 335 Main Street, Amagansett. Diane, this is yours.
Yes, this is an application. Is anybody here for this? I hope so.
Mr. Kelly is here.
How you doing? Tim Kelly, the owner of the house.
Hello. Well, okay, well, your application is to put 2 additions on your residence. On the north side, this house is in the Amagansett Historic District on the north side of Main Street, right, if you're going east, right before Amber Waves. The proposed additions to this classic center hall are fairly modest. One is 610 square feet and the other is 613 square feet. And they seem to be in perfect harmony with the existing very classic house. Will, can we see that first picture? I mean, it's really a classic house and perfectly suited to the area and everything. It's not quite 3/4 of an acre. It's a deep lot that's been totally cleared and is very well maintained. And all the intentions are to keep the character of the house, including even moving some existing windows from the rear of the house to the new addition on the front of the house, which would be to the east of the house. And all the edges, all the porches, the trim, woodwork, everything is to be painted white, very much in keeping with existing classic lighting as well. Now, there is also a proposed garage, pool, and covered porches in the rear of the house that are not part of our consideration, but there is considerable amounts of glass. And I'm not exactly clear about what's being taken away back there and what's being added or so I would appreciate some elucidation about the project.
All right, just the addition to the right of the house is a 1-story addition that would be facing the street.
Right.
And the windows you see in the back, those 4 windows would be used in the front. Those are the same size. All the windows in the house are the same. So those original type windows would go in the front in the part that you could see from the street. So in the back, to meet egress in the bedrooms, upstairs, I would be putting in the proper windows for code, so for egress in and out, because the window sizes are a little small. But the addition on the right side is low in height, so you basically won't see it behind the hedge. Mm-hmm. And there's 4 windows shown to the street. Those are the 4 windows from the back. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to keep in character everything you can see. From the back. The back has very limited windows right now. So I was going to use, divided light windows in the back, more glass so you can see outside of the house. So it's the addition in the back is a flat roof, and that is 4 panels of glass in the back.
Yeah, but this is considerable glass, but of course it only faces your own property.
Yeah, and it's hidden by the garage and hidden by the covered porch, so nobody would see it.
Are those mullion windows or what's?
Mullion windows.
Those big plate glass windows?
Yeah, just big mullion plate glass windows, but all of that wouldn't be seen by the public at all.
No, but it's nice you respected the
and you
windows.
can see out of the property. The house is on Montauk Highway, and it is very noisy there, so the covered porch is really being used as like a sort of a sound block
Baffle.
from all the road noise. That's where the covered porch came from. It's really being used more to block the road noise around the pool area. The garage in the back is a one-car garage, one story. And that's also, that's that little structure on the right there. It's also being used as part of the block of noise because it is a very noisy location. But everything is to be done in the character. It has an asphalt roof now. I'm going to change it to a wood roof, fix the old, there's those cheaper aluminum gutters, the white ones, put on the proper clad gutters, and really restore the house, bring it back. The work had been done over a period of time from all the prior owners, kind of restore it historically, if I'm given permission to do the addition. So the idea is really to bring it back to its character and not, change anything except in the back where you can't see it, provide a more modern feel so you can see outside the property.
Yeah, so that's what I was most impressed by, is the sort of the integrity of the existing house and how unchanged basically it will be.
And even all the landscaping, there was one of the requirements was a landscaping plan. All the landscaping will stay the same, and most of the new addition you're not going to be able to see from a hedge that's been there for a very long period of time. So you really shouldn't see much of any of the work here. And you can see that in the bottom right photo, just the large hedge. There's 2 hedges.
Yes, just to confirm, what is our purview or jurisdiction of the ARB on this property? Is it the entire property, all elevations?
I think it's the front facade, Frank.
It's front facade.
What about obliquely? I mean, because I drive by there, you can see a little bit down the side, so I'm just, I don't know if that...
If it's front facade, the front facade would be basically conforming. Sure. But down the sides, you wouldn't be able to see down. If you're looking at the right side, there's 2 hedges and then there's an evergreen hedge. There'd be no way to see any of the work that's being done on the right side.
I just want to confirm the rear elevation is not under our review.
Can I just make a point that in the code here, it says the entire parcel is a designated area or special status. So I'm not sure that it's just ordinarily I think it's the facade, but in this instance, maybe we should ask our attorney, but it says entire parcel in the code. I've got it open here. Some of them are, there are a variety of ways. Some designations are, limited to an access strip or so on and so forth. But this says entire parcel. So it would seem to me we have jurisdiction over the rear elevation too, but it would be helpful if council could weigh in.
Can I have somebody come up and talk? Dan Gualtieri.
My name is Dan Gualtieri. If you look at that document, the guideline for the historical district, my name is mentioned. I was one of the authors of that committee, along with Bob Heffern.
Hey, talking to the microphone.
Oh, yeah. So the intent was to protect the facades. As far as the side and the back, I don't believe there was any jurisdiction for protecting the sides or the back.
It's within the eminent.
His house was mentioned along with mine as far as, its, historical significance to the community.
It's one of the original farmhouses, so it's
and I lived next door to
structure.
At the time. So
my concern with this question is maybe a bit nitpicky, but typically on a rear addition to a historic structure, the general consensus is to try to step in from the plane of the sides of the house. Having said that, the very sensitive addition to the east is giving you a new side plane, which is great, giving you expansion room there. It sounds like a small detail, but that glass wall with the entry door on the west elevation protrudes ever so slightly, and I'm not sure if it would have to. That one.
That step.
Yeah, it's stepped back from the small one-story structure, but you can see how the crown is proud out beyond just barely from the side of the house. I just didn't know if that might be something we would consider to slide back so that it's even a corner board distance back from the or the cornice depth back from the west gable end of the historic house.
Yeah, that's a little jarring.
I mean, it's a, yeah, I mean, this is to me the most jarring transition, because I think you're right. The rest is, yes, there's a change in scale to the which clearly delineates this is a modern addition versus the historic part. And, in general, a delineation to me between old and new is, I don't really have a problem with that. I think it's appropriate to separate the two so that we can tell.
Even though it's behind, like, those two windows that you see in the main structure, that's a high, it's a structure. It's
right.
It's high. The whole thing is behind it. You wouldn't see it. So I think on this diagram, you can't see that is actually behind the house and behind that.
I mean, in plan, it was sticking out a little bit to the west. That's all.
Can you bring that up?
It's just ever so slight, and I don't know if that's something that you might want
adjust it. I mean, I could adjust it in a foot.
The other thing, which doesn't bother me architecturally but functionally, and in terms of code, I think if that's an active chimney, you're going to have to be 2 feet above any roof that's within 10 feet.
It would meet code. I mean,
that might have to come up taller to meet code because of the existing the roof plane that you're actually going to do in wood shingles. But that's not our. That's not our world. That's the building code world.
This was a concept to get ARB approval so we can move forward.
Right.
Kathy and Frank, do you have comments?
Well, Frank already commented.
Yeah. Kathy?
Well, I would say I haven't commented on the actual architecture, which I think is quite well done, actually, particularly the street elevation and the proposed improvements here. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's important that people retain living in these houses on Main Street, and the noise is always a problem. And what I love is you're keeping it sort of open with the landscaping in the front. The problem with a lot of houses as you approach East Hampton is they're walled off by huge fences, and I think this will kind of maintain the integrity of what it was supposed to be originally. So I applaud you for that.
And also in the guidelines, I think that it's interesting to allow additions and other changes to rear walls in inappropriate ways to allow the historic houses to be adapted to changing needs and lifestyles. So that's what I thought was an important consideration.
I'm also torn because as a historic architect myself, I think that people who are trained and knowledgeable about doing traditional architecture the right way should be doing things like what you're doing there in the front, reusing windows, matching materials. On the other hand, the big guys up at the Department of the Interior, who created standards for historic preservation and renovation, say that additions should be differentiable from the historic. We should be able to tell that this is a modern intervention and not that this wasn't part of the historic thing. As a traditional architect myself, I'm much more in favor of something that is really sensitively done, like this front elevation, because it's part of the living history of this house. This is the yes, there's an original farm house, but it continues to go on. The only other question I had was, could you elaborate a little bit on the history of this as a two-family house?
It is right now. I kept it as I bought it. It is a two-family house. I would convert it as part of the building permit process to a single-family residence.
Okay. So it's an abandoned. It would lose an abandoned non-conforming use. Okay. That helps you.
That was my question too. I was going to ask about that also, because that's a significant. It's unusual. There aren't that many two.
Well, it allows you to do what you're doing.
I would
here.
give up the two-family as concession.
Right. Oh, I agree with most of what my colleagues have said. I think the facade, that the street-facing improvements look wonderful, and they really are compatible, and I applaud you for reusing those windows. I think the fenestration in the back is probably a little more than I might like, but I'm okay with it. So we want these, as Chip said, we want these buildings to be used by families and residents, and I think if this is what you really need, that you can do that. I don't have any recommendations for it in any other capacity.
So are we ready to make a motion?
Yes, well, I think that everybody's in agreement that you've done a wonderful job. And therefore, I would like to make a motion that we accept this application as presented.
Second?
Aye.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Were there some elements missing here, though? Were there some dimensions or something? Am I misremembering reading this memo?
It's very complete. It's a very complete
Maybe
submission.
I'm confusing it with
Kathy, there might be one on one of the ag overlays that I think that.
Is that what I'm thinking of? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Frank, you were a yes too, right? Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yay.
thank you.
Yay.
On to business signs. This is Sale Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-6-3-6, 478 Westlake Drive in Montauk. Kathy, this is yours.
Is the applicant present?
Oh, please come up and introduce yourself at the mic.
A fun day. I had that one.
I remembered that when I went out there.
I'm Alexandra Ali, owner of Sale Montauk.
Great. Okay, so
Great.
Kathy will make a few comments, then we'll
Sure.
turn it over to you to make a few comments.
Yeah, this is an application for a business sign in Montauk. I feel like part of the reason I wanted to make sure the applicant was here is, didn't we do this already? Haven't we?
Yes, we applied.
Why did you resubmit? That's my.
So we applied last year for this sign and then two other signs by the docks. They're not actually you can't see it from the road, but they're behind a building near our docks. The ARB didn't approve the two signs near the docks. They needed some more information. They wanted our lease to prove that we leased the two slips. And they wanted a survey with the two signs on the survey, even though, because we had just marked them on there instead of getting a new survey.
Right.
We had thought that the sign near the road was approved at the time. What we did not realize, though, is that if all three signs weren't approved together at the same time, then none of the signs were approved. We did not realize that. So here we are again.
One is approval for the sign on the street. That was part of what I was trying to sort out, because I couldn't find, there's a photo of the sign you're proposing on the dock, but I went out there yesterday and I couldn't see it. I'm assuming you haven't erected it yet.
No, we didn't put the signs up because we thought that those weren't approved. We thought that the one by the street was approved, so we have that one up.
Okay. So this is this photo that we're looking at here is the one that was part of the submission. The original photo is the one I took when I went out to look at, when I'd made my site visit yesterday, and the sign is already up. So, you just want approval for this sign? Yeah, there it is at the very top.
So if we can get approval of all three signs, that's great. But honestly, just the one near the road is what we are really looking for. The other ones, I'm not even sure we need approval from the ARB. I was just advised to put those on the application just in case. We don't really care about those signs. We just want the one at the road, really.
Hopefully we can deal with all three.
Okay.
Make it complete.
Okay, well, have the signs on the, do we have the lease where the questions that were, that were raised?
Kathy, we have a letter from the landlord granting her permission to put the signs up, which is good enough.
A letter, someone deposed and designating to represent on my behalf. Okay, Peter Feld, is that it? Okay. But I see only 2 business signs. So where is the third one meant to go?
So the third one, we don't need approval for anymore. We just need this one by the road. And then there's one that's just going to say Sale Montauk. I had submitted a blue, white, and red sign. That's the only one I need approval for.
Do we have that sign will in the file?
The blue, okay, so
That one, yeah. If you go back, yeah.
okay.
So, yeah. It's not,
That's the sign that was-
This sign isn't accurate at all. This is what you submitted and then it's on top now, so, right?
Yes, it's different. This is what I'm trying to say, is that it's different than the package. It's erected and it's on the top. This is a different sign. We're just looking at the sign on the street.
Let's do the sign on the street first. Let's
Yeah.
go back to those, Will.
Because there seems to be some confusion. The sign at the bottom of this group is the one that was submitted with the application. It's not how it presently exists. The first photograph that we saw, that's it. That's how it is. I was out there yesterday. And that's what the, excuse me, sign looks like. I have no problem with the sign. Pardon?
Different position
It's just the same sign, it's just in a different location.
or position.
Exactly. And there's no sign on the pier. There's nothing there at all.
Let's just deal with this street sign first, Kathy.
That's fine. So I
don't think we care whether it's the top sign or the bottom sign.
No, I don't care at all. I'm perfectly happy to recommend this. I'm just trying to sort what they've submitted and what they want. So this application looks like it's just submitting for 2 signs, not 3. So I'm happy to recommend that we approve this sign. I think it's attractive. It's modest. It looks just fine. And it comports primarily to the dimensions that were reported. It's about 1 foot high by 6 inches. Well, it's a little 6 feet wide. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a little under that. It's 7 feet off the ground. I don't know if we have any height limitations on this. I haven't done one of these in a while. But I think it looks fine as it is. I have no problem with it. So if you want to segregate these, and we'll just approve this sign and then go on to talk about the round one that they want to put out at the dock. We can do that.
But is everyone, Frank, are you okay with this sign?
I have no objection.
Chris?
no objection.
Diane?
No objection.
Okay, so we're good with this sign. Let's go to the
Great.
next.
All right, let's go to the next one. So the next one, which is not erected and for which I have, I don't really have dimensions. It's just, these are of no use. This is just to show you what is out there.
Yes,
We have to go back to the applicant's submission. Yes, if you could turn that so it was the proper side. There we go. So that's the other one that they would like. It says it's 3 feet high, 2 feet wide, and 1 inch deep. I have no problem with this either. I think as long as the survey, which I don't seem to have in my package here, I still don't have it depicted on the survey. If it's depicted on the survey, then I think we're okay. That was really the hang up last time, is we needed the administrative stuff taken care of. Yeah, see, mine doesn't show this. So
Kathy, there's a question of whether or not a nautical situation like this, a pier gets surveyed for a sign.
Yeah, I did mark the location with an X, if you can see at the bottom, just so you get
I
an idea of where it is.
understand, but when we sent, indicate the location of the pilings and precise locations that are prepared by a licensed surveyor. All right, it doesn't really, look, it's not a big deal. I think it's fine. There are tons of other signs there, which is why I took those pictures. I think this is a modest, attractive looking sign. I'd be prepared to propose that we accept this also. So I just want to make sure that it met the criteria that we sent them away, and I want to make sure if they're back, they were just meeting what we asked them to do last time. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I second
you have to make a motion.
Oh, I thought she made it.
Kathy, so would you make a formal motion to approve the
Yeah,
two signs?
I move we approve it as submitted for these 2 signs, not 3, just 2.
And that's fine with you?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. You have your 2 signs.
Thank you. I did have one question for you guys. So we got a call, thankfully, from Julia a couple of weeks back that the sign near the road was not approved, right? And then she put us right on the agenda. She was great. But a week later, our landlord received a violation for this sign. Is there anything we can do for them?
Resolution, and you can bring it to, if they have court, or we can send it to code enforcement. Code enforcement is actually watching these meetings.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. Okay, great.
tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank
It
you,
just
guys.
disappeared.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Very nice.
You're up.
yes. Still in the business sign world, this is Hello Cando, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-4-42.1. This is 41 Carl Fisher Plaza in Montauk. This is mine. Is that you, Will? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just say a few things and you can chime in.
Sure.
This is an application for a sign and a door decal on a small storefront on the plaza, on the ocean side of the plaza. The sign is white with, it looks like dark black lettering and a small logo. It measures 96 inches by 26 inches or 17.3 square feet. It appears to be the same size as the real estate sign that is on the building currently. The door decal is black and white and will go on the glass door, and it measures 20 inches by 11.2 inches or 1.6 square feet. Total sign square footage for both signs is just under 19 square feet. We have a letter from the landlord granting permission for this sign. Overall, it's a sort of a replacement in kind for what is there, if I'm reading this right, and it's very clear, and it's sort of an elegant sign. Are you going to take that sign and just redo it?
No, we're going to replace it.
You're going to replace it, but
Same size.
same
and everything,
size,
yeah.
okay.
The brackets will stay the same. We just.
Yeah. I mean, given the signage on this chunk of the plaza, this is one of the more sophisticated signs. Any questions, anyone? Kathy, Frank?
No.
Well, okay, so.
Straightforward.
I think we're on board. I make a motion to approve this application as submitted. Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Will.
Easy enough.
Okay. Moving on to fences, walls, gates, and berms. This is the Oleas residence, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-146-6-7, 10 Warwick Road in East Hampton. Please come on up, gentlemen. And Kathy, this is yours again.
Right. So this is an application to legalize some existing fencing on a fairly mature property. I took a variety of pictures and okay. Could you just go back to that one for a minute? Well, if you look deep inside that very mature landscaping, you'll see that there's a fence. And the main issue, you can keep going now, thank you. The main issue with this property is that the posts for some of the fencing on the south elevation, which this is the north elevation, this is the north side, and this is sort of the northeast corner. That is the northwest corner, I believe. And you can stop there a minute. Stop there a minute, please. Yeah, you can see some of the posts in the back. There's a little bit of that wire deer fencing on this side. So the posts are at 8 feet. The house is set back off. It's on 10 Warwick Road, which is it's off a road called James Road that I think is an abandoned road. And so it doesn't really have a traditional front yard in any way. If we could just pull the survey up quickly, James Place it's called. There we go. Yeah, just if you could, yeah, I'm like scooch down a little so we can see, there you go. You see how Warwick Road is on the bottom of your screen there, and then James Place is a right turn. So this house, there's this rectangular area on the east side of this property is a house. It's a building, and it's all landscaped and so forth. This home cannot be seen from the road. I had a lot of trouble finding it. And it doesn't have a traditional front yard. This fencing has been up for a long time. There's mature landscaping in front of all of it. In general, I would not recommend 6-foot fencing all around, but I think in this instance, it's been there for a really long time. I'm not exactly sure why it came before us, but if the applicant would be willing to take the posts down to 6 feet in the areas where they exceed the 6 feet, which is mainly along that southern border, I would be willing to recommend that we approve it as is. I'm happy to answer any questions, and if Mr. Oleas is there, he may want to.
Sure.
He's the owner.
Oh, sure. Please identify yourself, sir.
Hi, my name is Hugo Oleas. I'm the owner of the house. Like she said, just all that's the purpose is for the deer, and I have no neighbors in the front, and it's no road, and just is a metal closing there, but it's 6 feet in there, and I know the post is 8 feet. Yes, so she told me you may want to cut it, but again, the whole purpose is just for the deer because I have nice plants inside, and I don't want the deer damage or eat.
Is the fence 6 feet or 8 feet?
No, 6.
Oh, and then the post.
The post is 8.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So what do you need the extra 2 feet for, the posts?
To be honest, I don't even realize why I leave it like that. Just I put it and I let it be. But in this time, I guess I got it cut.
And these are metal posts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're those traditional,
Yeah, black round, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we don't look to the village for guidance on these things, but their code has a very specific stipulation for 8-foot posts. If your design is with a certain, horizontal wire, runs 12 inches apart above the 6 feet fence, which is the standard. So that's a lot of fence companies may be thinking of the village.
And excuse me. And also, I'm trying to put more plants in there to be growing because my neighbor have a pool over there. So I guess they need a privacy too. Again, those plants, they put in there, they're growing.
It's beautiful. Would you consider cutting 2 feet off the posts?
Yeah, I got to cut it whatever extra is I think.
Yeah, to bring it down from 8 feet to 6 feet, like we discussed yesterday. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
My recommendation was to approve it with the condition as the applicant agreed to cut it down, cut the posts down so that they're the same height as the fence, which is 6 feet.
Sounds great.
I think that's a great solution. Is everyone in agreement?
Absolutely.
Chris, Frank? Frank?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kathy, do you want to make a motion?
Sure, yeah, I move that we accept this application as proposed with the condition that the applicant lower the height of the fence posts to 6 feet to match the fencing in the places where it is presently 8 feet. That any post can't be above 6 feet.
And then
I agree. Thank you.
And then the building department will come out and do an inspection of it first.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Second. Aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Thank you, Julie.
Got to get on our game about that stuff.
Agricultural overlays, 14 Sayers Path modification, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-8.2, 14 Sayers Path has been postponed by the request of the applicant. Next one, 47 WH LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-22. This is 47 Wainscott Hollow Road in Wainscott. This is mine. Is Denise here? very many people here. Okay, good. Okay, so you're going to do a formal presentation. I'm just going to make a few comments and then we'll turn it over to you. Okay, so this is an application. This is an application for the construction of a single-family residence and accessory structures. That's a garage and a pergola on a 1.4-acre lot in the 55 Wainscott Hollows subdivision, which was approved by the town in 2017. This property is located in an agricultural overlay district. There are 5 lots in the subdivision. This is the only one that is accessed directly from Wainscott Hollow Road. All the other lots are in the process of being developed or are far along with that now. The residence is a 2-story residence, 6,645 square feet. The garage is 600 square feet. The pergola is 200 square feet. The covered exterior porches are 1,362 square feet, and the second floor deck is 566 square feet. Lot building coverage is about half of what could be built on the property, 4,656 square feet versus 8,400 square feet. Total lot coverage is 14,967 square feet, where 24,000 square feet is permitted. So this is really a modest house on a lot that could have been built out much more. The height of the residence is 30 feet, where 32 feet is allowed. Proposed lighting is dark sky compliant. An extensive natural landscape plan has been submitted with the architectural renderings. There's also a pool on the property. Overall, this is an uncomplicated and attractive structure, barn-like in feeling, fitting into the community using natural materials and finishes. I'll let the applicants fill us in.
Sure. I'm Stephen Soul from Merrill Soul Architects. I'm here with Denise Schoen.
Stephen, a little louder.
And Ariel Fox from Marshall Petzel Landscape. So we'll start with the renderings. If you could actually go to the second rendering, that would be a good place to start. Or actually, no, just down one. Down one more. So the home is a series of shingled gabled structures linked by a glassy, flat-roofed gathering space. Our objective was to break down the scale and the massing of the house into more agricultural scaled volumes. And we also, our other objective was to make the building more visually permeable. So we like this idea of arriving to the house and really celebrating this view of the reserve. So instead of having a house where you come to this frontal facade, we've located these 2 gabled masses to the east and to the west. And again, we've got this glassy space in the middle, and you can see right through the house, and you get this long view of the reserve beyond. So this first sequence of images are from the shared driveway. So this property is actually accessed from the shared common driveway with the other properties in the subdivision.
I thought it was stipulated it had to be accessed off of Wainscott Hollow Road.
There's no way for it to be accessed from Wainscott Hollow Road. It's directly off of the shared common drive.
But it's the first one, correct?
No, it's not. It's set in.
One. Oh, it's the second one. Okay.
We had this first one.
No, it's the.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is.
I understand now. Okay.
So we're set. How many lots are we setting?
We're actually the second last.
Yeah. So there's.
Right here.
Yeah, but the second to last lot in the subdivision along the common drive.
Okay.
So we're setting quite a ways.
Sorry to interrupt here. Is lot 6 View 49 LLC? Or do I have this completely wrong?
I think that was 51.
Okay, I think it was that J51.
Yes,
and then
that was
J49, and then
I can't hear.
Frank, I think this is not the same subdivision as.
Okay,
Oh, it
just
is?
confirming.
Oh, it is. Okay,
it's this one.
Same as something.
J51 and J49.
gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the same subdivision. The 3J51, which was on last week's agenda, or the last meeting's agenda that we approved, was the same one, and the view is further down.
Okay, but it's on the same
shared driveway. Same shared driveway.
Okay, got it. All right. And this is the second one in. Okay.
If you could go back to the renderings, and we'll just cycle through those. So again, the first sequence is from the common driveway. This is looking generally south. So if you want to go through to the next. So this is coming into the entry driveway, the parking court. This is just with the landscape ghosted out, so you can see the house. This is a little bit further to the east. The volume right to the left is the end of the garage and then the house beyond. The same image, just landscape ghosted out. So then this next sequence of images are from the reserve. So this is looking back towards the house to the north. Again, we're using natural materials. So it's shingled, Western red cedar shingles on the gabled volumes, also on the roof. And then the flat roof structure is also Western red cedar, but that would be a charred finish, so it's a darker finish than the rest of the house, but just for the center portion of our design.
The flat roof over the central gathering space, the central glazed gathering space, is that a deck?
There is a rooftop deck with a glass railing. And then the deck is centered in the flat roof, and then around that we're going to do a green roof.
So the fascia of the connector piece is Shishugiban?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So it's a charred Western red cedar.
Black, right.
Yeah.
My only comment about that is that, I mean, I do like Shishugiban, is that the rendering it's kind of rendering is sort of brownish. In reality, it's black. So it's just a comment about the rendering.
Sure.
Do we have a material palette sheet in this application?
Yes, there is.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can go up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so the upper slides are obviously the Western red cedar on the roof and on the walls of the gabled structures. We're using a gray brick for the fireplace. And then that middle slide is the burnt or the charred Western red cedar siding. Again, that will primarily be below the overhang, so in shade. And then for the fascia of the flat roof as well. And then the windows are a aluminum clad product, which would be a dark finish as well. And then we've got natural stone, which would be a gray madras. And then there's some board form concrete, which is below grade in the light wells of our design.
And the charred cedar boarding on that roof edge, is that a series of vertical siding pieces, or is it horizontally oriented
Those ones would be, so on the fascia, there would be horizontal boards. There would be 2 horizontal boards, and then below there would be vertical boards. We didn't want to use natural cedar below the overhangs because it doesn't tend to weather and it gets an orange tone. Sure. Our renderings of the cedar shingles are kind of gray, but in reality, the red cedar can get very dark. So, mixing and matching the charred cedar with the red cedar we think is going to be a very nice look.
As opposed to like the Alaska yellow, which should silver out more, I suppose.
Correct. Yeah, that'll be more silver gray. Right. These buildings are Western red cedar, and if you look out the window here, there's some very dark panels of shingle.
So in fact, Frank, I think that fascia might not pop out as much as the Western red darkens naturally on the siding, the shingle siding.
Yeah, no, I'm not objecting to it. I'm just pointing it out that it's black. What is what's the profile of the fascia, the vertical height?
The height of the fascia is 18 inches, I believe.
Okay.
And then it has a little step back to a curb.
I mean, I think overall it's a very elegant, sensitive design. I like how you pull the volumes apart and kind of breaks up the massing on the site. I mean, it is what I'm comfortable with the Shushugi band. I would love to see maybe a thinner fascia profile, but that's not easy to attain.
Sure.
Curious about the elevation of the house in the sort of the landscape. This came up on the most recent property that we've looked at on the street, which is there's fill. So are you planning on what's going to happen with the grade here? Because what happened down the street is that they sort of took everything they excavated and they kind of dumped it in the backyard, and everything is sort of raised up it's more of a landscape question and grading. I would prefer that some effort be made to, keep grading as close as you can to the natural landscape, as opposed to kind of like a couple of lots down where it's raised basically 2 feet almost across the property.
So we're proposing minimal grading. I don't know if you would like to talk about the landscape, but there's a slight step from the front to the back.
Yeah.
So the front yard is a little bit higher than the backyard. But again, we're proposing very minimal grading. It's a fairly flat site.
Okay.
So you'll have to take topsoil out, right? Where's the topsoil from the foundation digging go? It can't stay on the property, and otherwise it raises the property, which is the issue we have.
It'll be removed from the site.
Removed, yeah, okay.
I don't think they can remove
Yes, they can.
the topsoil.
Yes.
You can remove it if it's part of the construction. Then if it's necessary to remove it for the foundation in the house.
You're lucky because you're the fifth and last of this development, and we have struggled with some of the others.
Having said that, the topsoil is probably really good material to be mixed with by the landscape people to
save it.
So it's the soil underneath is probably clay and sand, so not so good.
If you'd like next, we can talk about the landscape.
Sure.
Ariel Fox, Marshall Pizza Landscape Architecture. So speaking to the landscape, yes, if you could pull up the rendering. Oh, the plan. Sorry. Yes, thank you. So the client selected this lot to build a home primarily because they valued the views of the adjacent reserve and the agricultural character of the area. Our goal was to embrace this sense of place in the approach to designing a landscape for the residents appropriate for the location. With the exception of the privacy hedging, as you can see on the common driveway and the two sides, we intend the landscape plantings to appear very natural and less manicured through the placement of plantings and the substantial use of indigenous plant material. The mowed lawn areas were kept to a minimum in favor of large areas of no-mow fescue and wildflowers with mowed paths. As you can see on the rendering, the area of land adjacent to the reserve, you can see the paths through the no-mow and wildflower areas. More than 60 native evergreen and deciduous trees are planned for the landscape, in addition to a diverse and large percentage of native shrubs, grasses, and perennials, creating critical habitat for pollinators and birds. The irrigation requirements after establishment will, with our selected planting and no-mow areas, will be substantially less than a comparably sized conventional landscape. There will be small pervious gravel garden for fruits and vegetables, as you can see in the front. Stepping stone paths lead from the house to the swimming pool in the backyard, which is surrounded on 3 sides by a relatively small amount of patio space. A simple open-air wooden shade structure sits atop the pool patio that will maintain views through the structure to the adjacent land. The visible fence against the preserved agricultural land is a simple and open galvanized wire mesh with red cedar posts, which will also match the cedar frame and galvanized mesh passage gates that are along the sides of the front, within the hedge, and then along the one side. The remaining pool-compliant black wire mesh fence will be concealed in the hedges to disappear. If you go to the slide with the 3 elevations of the fencing, please. There'll be a clearer picture of what I'm describing. Thank you. So this is the fencing, this red cedar framed gates, and simple red cedar posts with the galvanized mesh stapled to the posts. All the proposed lighting in the landscape is dark sky compliant, as you had mentioned previously. We hope that the board feels this landscape design is responsive to and appropriate for the desired type of development in the agricultural overlay district. Thank you for your consideration, and let me know if you have any questions.
Nice presentation.
Yeah, we usually don't get such detailed landscaping plans.
And I can't thank you and the owners for not like over programming the yard here with. Yeah, I think it's very elegant. Yeah, I have some other comments, but I'll let other people chime
in. Chris, your comments?
I'm ready to vote.
That's great. Yeah, me too.
Kathy?
I just wondered about the hedges in terms of, how high they're planning to be, in terms of the vista.
Look at the
yes. So
because the agricultural overlay district is, the vistas are meant to be accessible, and I recognize the privacy hedge as an amenity people want, but when it surrounds the entire property, it does block that vista. So I wondered.
Yes, so the hedge along the common driveway will be about 4 to 5 feet. So it won't be too tall along the common driveway. Along the sides, it'll be 5 to 6 feet tall, just enough to allow some screening from the neighbors. Along the reserve, there is no hedge. Just the fence and the galvanized with cedar posts. So it'll be open for the neighbors that are viewing across the reserve.
I'm always curious on these, since we've seen so many of these in this subdivision, if the neighbors talk and figure out what to do along the property lines. My hedge, your hedge, right alongside each other.
Or back-to-back hedges.
Yeah. Not always easy.
No. We hope they communicate, but you never know.
I think I'll just also close by saying, there's been a lot of contention about the development of this, about these lots in a very sensitive site. And, I'm really grateful for your clients and you all for really not trying to maximize maximize your GFA here and really, try to really respect the scale of this development relative to the site. I think it's a real win.
If there are any other future applicants out there listening.
I think we've run out of lots. Okay, so I think we're ready to proceed. So I make a motion to approve this application as presented. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All in favor?
Aye.
Frank?
Aye.
Kathy?
I guess I'm okay with it. I'd like a little more time to sit with it, but I agree. It's well done and it's sensitive to the lot.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for your time.
Amazing, what a difference
From
when they don't try to crowd the entire
Yeah, it does make a big difference.
world into, you know?
if they could all have been this way.
Amazing.
Okay, we're still in agricultural overlays, 6 Fieldview Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-159-1-18.29. East Hampton. Chris, this is yours.
Okay, 6 Fieldview is a flag lot. It's adjacent to an agricultural overlay. The house is, there's an existing house. The application before us is for a pretty modestly sized addition to the side facing the pool. It's in the rear of the house. And so of all the invisible sides, this is probably the least visible of those invisible sides. So the rear of the yard, that's the elevation that would be transformed here, which is, quite frankly, this is a really quite elegant house, very thoughtfully designed, probably a blast to live in, and has a lot of interesting angles to it. And this elevation, probably the least of them. And I think the elevation, the proposed elevation that takes away 2 of these outdoor storage closet doors and takes away the outdoor shower, takes away a bathroom on the interior and replaces it with a study, sitting room, and an indoor bathroom. Underneath an extension of the sloped roof there, as a continuation of the existing language of the house in terms of materials and glazing, and kind of cleaning up what looked like a bit of a hodgepodge on that elevation. I think it's a very minor addition. If you can go to the photographs that I didn't take too many photographs here, just they kind of told the story. That's a view of the mature plantings that surround the property. There's one agricultural neighbor, but the rest are other houses. And as you can see, this rear yard is completely screened. That yellow square is the area of the addition facing the pool. You can see the roof sloping down. That roof slope would continue down. It was noted that there are not full dimensions on the application for the building height, but presuming that this building meets the pyramid and the building regulations, the roof here is actually lower than what's existing as it continues to slope downward. So I wouldn't see any issue there. I mean, it's around 100 square foot addition. This is the front courtyard as you arrive down the driveway, down the flag of the flag lot. It's the materials would be very much the same. Are you the applicant?
Yes. Hi, my name is Kevin Bell. I'm the designer of the project, and everything that he's mentioned is all of what we were trying to achieve, matching all of the existing materials. The purpose of the application is that the homeowner is spending a lot more time and intending to be full-time here, and the husband already has an office. The wife would like a study space. So we are taking an existing bathroom and, as you mentioned, storage that is the least interesting sort of rear door of all of the facades, and we are taking the space that was the bathroom
shifting that to where the storage room is on the right there and utilizing the space that is the existing bathroom to make this office and sitting room. In the process, we are matching all of the fenestration that is custom wood frame windows and curtain walls. So we are proposing a little extension of that curtain wall on the facade facing that tree in that particular photo, as well as sliders in keeping with that facing the pool. It is a 94 square feet of new space because we've mostly accomplished the goal within the space that's the existing storage unit and existing bathroom. And I do believe that we are cleaning up the facade greatly. There are only two types of outdoor lights. There is a compliant wall sconce outside of the door leading into the bathroom, and there are three down-facing small 3-inch recessed cans in the soffit that we are proposing. So those meet the criteria. There is actually no landscaping being affected in this other than removing obviously some lawn in the area that we've shaded over there. And all of the other materials would be matching the existing materials of the home. So we're trying to make the least effect possible here. And with regards to the dimension, my apologies that was not specified on the height. The height of the roof at the facade that you're looking at is about 11'3" to the underside of the soffit. We will now be down closer to 10 feet, and we are 6.5 feet at the closest point away from the pyramid law, well within inside of the pyramid law.
I mean, this is not in an agricultural overlay area. It's adjacent to one agricultural property that's in the district. Obviously, this is a recent enough house that it's passed muster from the Architectural Review Board in the past, and the continuation of the details doesn't seem at all to be an issue with me, for me at all. Especially considering the property is beautifully maintained, both the grounds and the house. It's quite elegant, and you know, I don't have much to say about it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Diane?
I think it's fine.
Frank and Kathy?
No objection.
Kathy?
I gave it a thumbs up.
Okay, it just appeared.
So I'd make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed.
Thank you very much. Very nice meeting all of you.
Okay, moving on to issuance of certificate of occupancy.
James Frank modification.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do both, right? Okay. So still an agricultural overlay, then we'll do C of O. James Frank modification, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-2.2, 11 Town Line Road. Frank, this is yours.
Okay, this is an application that we reviewed recently for certificate of occupancy. Just to reiterate, to refresh everybody the history of this, essentially where we are is the house is completed. There was an inspection we did where we determined that were some things that did not meet the approved drawings. The big one, just to everyone know, was the house is now all white. We all know this, but it wasn't. That's not what was originally approved. So part of this not part of the CO. What we're doing here is we're kind of memorializing the changes that were submitted. We asked that the architect come back and resubmit basically in drawings everything that was built and the changes that were made. Can we go back to those photographs, please, so I could just walk through everybody through? So we've covered the front of the house. Let's go down next page. The garage doors. So these were like more contemporary black, as I recall, or sort of rust colored, because that was what was available during the pandemic. We said this doesn't conform and we're not going to approve it. So the applicant came in, with our guidance, installed these garage doors. So this is up for our approval. These garage doors as a change. Let's keep going. That's just a shot of the house, which has not changed since I think we all have been there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Next page. Now, here's one thing I'd like that I think is merits a discussion, which is everything on the house ended up being white. That's not what was originally drawn and approved by this board. This siding is actually what my understanding we had approved, but it doesn't match the house. So let's go through the next photographs. This is the pool house. This wasn't last time this came before us. The siding was not installed. This door was not installed. Keep going. You'll see the cedar siding here. Keep going. And that's the back side. The railing that was installed there. It does conform to what we approved. Another photograph. That is, I'm assuming, a temporary enclosure of the pool equipment that I'm hoping the owner will improve upon, and that is something that is within our purview. So I'd like to hear from Trevor about that. And then last photograph. So yeah, I think that's something that we should discuss as a board is, and my understanding, the applicant has basically said to us, let us know your thoughts on either approving what is built there, or my understanding is the applicant is willing to paint this white if that's our preference. So with that, I'll let Trevor explain further.
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and those of you who are zooming in. So yes, what Frank just mentioned is that this last time we were here, I think we were trying to get up to speed with the board as to the as-built components, and Chris was new, I think. That was one of your first hearings. So we had rescheduled for the site visit for everybody to see, but the board also wanted to see the pool house as built as well, because we sort of put the brakes on that until we were able to get in front of the board for all the other items. So when we got to the point where I think everything is now completed as built, and the homeowner, reached out to me because the plans as approved were for the cedar siding, not white. And my advice was, we're not doing anything to the property that wasn't approved. Right? So let's starting out with a baseline of, we go there, and the applicant would absolutely love it to be white to match the house. So if the board is inclined to, grant its approval with that condition, he'd have it done immediately, as soon as the weather, allows for it. The contractors would be there to paint it to match. So that's not an objection from our side. We're okay with leaving it cedar siding if that's what the board wants, because that's what was originally approved. But to Frank's point, and that the applicant, we would prefer to have it match. But I didn't want to run afoul of the approval process.
So let's just poll the board. Kathy, are you okay with white?
I think this is one of the ones you guys did when I was on sabbatical. So I'm sort of getting up to speed here, but I assume that you approved the white, even though that,
yes,
the things being white are being approved. Okay.
Fact, yes.
Because the cedar looks so much better, and what a shame that it's not that, but it doesn't match the white. So, I mean, especially because it's in the rear and nobody will really be able to see it except the applicant. I suppose I could, go with the white.
Frank, you're okay?
Right. And I just would want to point out, my understanding and reading of the architectural drawings is the original house was not all cedar. So it was a mix of white and cedar.
Correct.
So it's actually more.
Diane, you're good
here to debate that, but it is.
No, I'm just trying to get up to speed with this because I wasn't here when you did it the last time. So, and my recollection was that there was more siding than there was white on it, but I may not even remember that correctly. So, and we don't need to discuss it. If you approved it, it's approved. It's not.
Well, technically we have not approved the changes in the main house. because,
Okay.
I mean, we had, how do we could go back and we could
hold the board.
We could go through these like individual items that we talked about, that some we approved, some we didn't, were we approving the, it was more a discussion when we did the walkthrough of what do we object to?
Right.
To get this to an approval.
Okay.
And we communicated that clearly to the owner, and the owner did make that change to the garage door as requested. So, essentially from what we last communicated and requested to the owner, to complete the project and to install the garage doors, that has been completed. The other thing was that the architect had to submit a drawing set of all the proposed changes, so we have so we essentially memorialize and have a record of what all those changes are. And I did look through those, and it does appear that they conform.
And one of those changes was the repositioning of this pool house
Okay.
to the opposite side of the backyard from what was originally presented.
Okay. It's, that I remember is one of the sticking points back a while back. So, okay. Well, so the question before us is whether we, as a board, are willing to have the cedar siding painted white to match the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's okay with me. But if I'm just curious about what we did approve. I mean,
we can go back to the architectural drawings that are before us here, and that will show what's approved.
Yeah, basically to the as-built structure, which is what we
basically approving as built. I mean, with a couple of changes that we sort of required, most of the garage doors.
So let's go down to the pool house.
And the pool house got flipped, but we're not going to move the pool house.
No, that's not the point. Yeah, I'm just, really, I haven't looked at this in so long. So, okay, that's it. That's enough for me.
Okay, so I think we're ready to move beyond this project.
Finally.
Yes. So to that point was, I guess, during this process, as the board is aware, because we had to ask for the CO component as well for the board. I guess when the building inspector was at the property with the contractor, they said that he needed to have these enclosures as well. So that was done by the builder who I spoke to as today as well, and that's what that is. So if the board wants to make it a different material for approval, because it's screened in, which you can't really see from this photograph. It is all hedged in behind the pool house. The applicant would make it white and any materials to match.
Well, it's just plywood that's laid on it.
Correct. It's
a little skimpy for what it should be.
Yeah, for a house of
it's screened in with hedges,
yeah, but,
right?
Here's the thing is, can I just point out, when the hedges go bare in the winter, you're going to be looking at gray plywood.
I don't think we want to have plywood enclosures around anything. I mean,
no, I think it's a bad precedent to set. No,
I may be mistaken, but I was under the impression that pool equipment had to be in a full enclosure.
No, not in the town.
Not in the town.
No.
Okay, so
it doesn't have to be roofed over, you mean? No, it doesn't.
No. Mm-hmm. So we need to deal, I mean, I think we're okay with the white and everything else, but now the question is, how do we deal with this plywood fence?
Just replace it with stockade.
4-foot stockade? I mean, yeah, cedar, it's natural.
Whatever the board, and we can paint it white.
But don't paint it white, no.
Whatever you want to match, right? 4-foot
Frank,
stockade.
what's your view on this?
I think it could be,
Wire.
It's just.
I think the simplest thing possible. So
any material we can do, deck boards. We can do whatever 4 feet high.
Why don't we just do 4-foot high stockade? I mean, it'll blend in with the hedge.
Sure, it'll weather.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I'm fine with
I'd like something better, but this is going to get us there.
Yes, please.
the goal, the CO.
Okay, Kathy, are you okay with that 4-foot stockade?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it doesn't seem to comport with the rest of the house. The rest of the house is
I don't want it to be
what I
white.
would choose as a fence, but I can't think of something else. And if stockade fence is,
It's inexpensive.
We just want it to be code compliant. That's where this triggered from.
Well, and it should also be, when the hedges are, as Frank points out, when the hedges are free of leaves, it should be something that's relatively visibly pleasing rather than this bare plywood, so.
Yeah. Okay. So Frank, you want to make a motion to deal with all this?
Well, let me just pull the board. Where do we stand as a board on preference for a siding? Trevor is asking for it, and I'll just say it for the record. I don't like being asked as an architectural board, what do you want?
No, I think we're there on the white.
So Frank, my request would be to make it white.
Yeah.
Modifying the approved.
No, I'm asking about the pool equipment enclosure.
Oh, pool equipment. Okay. Yeah.
What did is everybody in agreement about just a
4-foot stockade fence?
Not
4-foot stockade fence?
Natural. Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's the
so innocuous.
easiest way to wrap this up. Yeah. And you pick it up at the lumberyard, you put it up, it's over.
It'll be up tomorrow.
Okay. You were going to paint it yesterday.
Exactly. Whatever.
Okay. So Frank, can we make a motion now?
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion for the following. That this board approve the changes to the main house as proposed and as proposed per the architectural drawings and as built. That the pool house is to be approved as built, with the siding to be clear cedar horizontal boards painted white to match the main house. And that the pool equipment enclosure to be a 4-foot high wooden stockade fence. Can we just say wooden fence?
Yeah.
Or not? A wooden stockade fence to weather naturally.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Trevor, thank you. Oh, yes. Now on to make a motion, Frank, to proceed to a C of O once all this is done.
Okay. We have a bit of a problem, which I don't have my cheat sheet, and you're not sitting next to me, so I don't have the language. I'd have to have a very good memory to remember what that is. So we are considering the certificate of occupancy, that this property is ready for inspection by the building department, provided changes are executed per our modification approval. Chip, can you read that?
Yes.
Can you read the statement?
Frank makes a motion to approve this application for a request for certificate of occupancy per the changes noted today, given the color of the pool house and a 4-foot stockade fence around the pool equipment. And we instruct our staff to notify the building department that this will then be ready for a C of O.
Thank you.
Second. Diane, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kathy, Frank?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we have one.
Thank you all very much.
Trevor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have added one item to the schedule tonight. It's on the C of O side. It's a 581 Wainscott Northwest Road, LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-133-1-25, 581 Wainscott Northwest Road. No applicant? Do we need an applicant?
No.
Okay. Chris, it's yours.
This is an application which we basically approved with the stipulation that they modify the survey, the notes on the survey, to more accurately represent the fencing around the tennis court. So, Will, if you could zoom in on that, you can see that they've modified it to show 4 feet on the side facing the pool and the extent of that 4 feet and the 8 feet all around the rest. That's all, folks.
Is there a picture? Will, is there a picture? No.
It's the old picture that it was built that way. It just wasn't shown that way on the survey.
There we go.
So
So it goes up and it goes down.
Yep.
Oh, I remember this one. Okay, yeah.
So that's, this is all in that backyard of that new house. So
Make a motion, Chris.
I'd make a motion to approve, what are we, it's actually CVO.
Here.
Yes. I make a motion to approve this application for a request for certificate of occupancy and to instruct staff to notify the building department that this is ready for CVO.
Second, Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Kathy for aye, okay.
Yes, no, I said aye. I raised my hand, sorry.
Okay.
Aye.
Item is passed. I make a motion that we close this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Under
Thank
2
you.
hours.
Thank you,
Feel better,
LTV.
Frank.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank